Welcome back to my channel all about rare and valuable coins. Today we are going to talk about the Lincoln Memorial pennies. Coins that may look ordinary but can actually be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. From the years they were minted, the mint marks that make them rare, and the hidden details that many people overlook, Lincoln Memorial pennies have become one of the most collected coins in American history. Some of these pennies can sell for much higher than face value, and collectors everywhere are searching for them every single day. That's why you should watch this video all the way through, because I'll be explaining why certain Lincoln Memorial pennies are valuable, how to spot the rare ones, and what makes them so important for coin collectors. These coins are valuable, and if you've ever wondered if the penny in your pocket change could be worth real money, you're going to want to stay tuned until the very end of this video. First up, the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny is one of the most interesting and historically important coins in American coinage. This penny marked a major turning point because it was the very first year that the Lincoln Memorial reverse design was introduced. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse of the penny featured the classic wheat ears design, commonly called the Lincoln wheat cent. But starting in 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the United States Mint changed the reverse design to the Lincoln Memorial, which we now call the Lincoln Memorial penny. That makes the 1959 penny highly significant to coin collectors, historians, and anyone who is interested in the story of U.S. coins. And in this video, we're going to explore everything about the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny, why it is valuable, what makes it collectible, and what you need to know if you ever come across one in your pocket change or coin collection. When we talk about the 1959 penny, we're looking at a coin that bridges two eras, the end of the wheat penny and the beginning of the Lincoln Memorial cent series. The obverse still shows the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, which has been on the penny since 1909, but the reverse now features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a design created by Frank Gasparo. This new design not only gave the coin a modern appearance, but also carried deep symbolism, since within the tiny image of the memorial, you can actually see a small representation of the Lincoln statue. Collectors often note that this was the first circulating U.S. coin to depict the same person on both the obverse and reverse, a unique detail that adds to its collectability and historical importance. The 1959 penny was struck in two main varieties, the 1959 with no mint mark from the Philadelphia Mint and the 1959 D penny from the Denver Mint. Both were struck in very large numbers, but condition and errors make certain examples much more valuable. In total, more than 609 million pennies were minted in Philadelphia and more than 1.2 billion in Denver. So at first glance, the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny seems common. But collectors know that even with high mintages, certain years and certain conditions can make a penny far more valuable than face value. That's exactly the case with the 1959 penny. One of the main things that determines the value of the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny is its condition. Circulated coins that you might find in pocket change are usually worth just face value, but uncirculated coins, coins with original luster, and coins that have been preserved in excellent condition can be worth much more. Collectors especially prize brilliant uncirculated examples with sharp details and original red color. These red coins, which have not toned or turned brown over time, can bring significant premiums in the collector market. So, if you have a 1959 penny that still looks bright and new, it could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. Another factor that makes the 1959 penny valuable is era varieties. Like many coins of the era, the 1959 penny is known for certain mistakes and minting errors that can drastically increase its value. Double die errors, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and other minting mistakes can transform an ordinary penny into a highly valuable collectible. Some 1959 pennies with dramatic errors have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on rarity and condition. These errors are always in demand from coin collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents. That is why it's always important to check your 1959 pennies carefully, because the difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable era coin could be life-changing. One of the most famous discussions around the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny involves the extremely controversial 1959 D wheat reverse cent. This is a coin that reportedly shows a 1959 obverse paired with a wheat penny reverse, something that should not exist because wheat cents ended in 1958. Only one example is claimed to exist, and for decades it has been debated whether it is a genuine mint error or a counterfeit. Regardless of the controversy, the fact that this discussion exists around the 1959 penny shows how much attention this coin receives from collectors and researchers. When you look deeper into the 1959 penny, you realize that it is not just a coin, but also a piece of history. This was the first coin to display the Lincoln Memorial, a monument that symbolizes freedom, leadership, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. The choice to redesign the penny in 1959 connected the coin to national history in a powerful way. Collectors know that first-year issues of any coin design are always important, and the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny is no exception. It holds a special place in the series because it is the very first year of a design that lasted until 2008, nearly 50 years. That long history makes the 1959 penny even more collectible and valuable to anyone who builds a complete set of Lincoln Memorial cents. For more than 6 decades, the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny has been collected by millions of people. Some collect it as a first-year type coin, others include it in complete sets, and many keep it for its historical importance. Even though the penny is small in size, it carries a huge significance in American numismatics. Collectors often say that the 1959 penny is a must-have coin, not only because it is affordable to find in lower grades, but also because rare high-grade and error varieties can be very valuable. This combination of accessibility and rarity makes the 1959 penny appealing to all levels of coin collectors. The market for the 1959 penny continues to be strong, especially for coins in higher condition. Online auctions, coin shows, and collector forums always see interest in this coin, and prices can vary widely based on grade and rarity. If you have a jar of old pennies at home, you should definitely take the time to search for 1959 examples. You may find an ordinary circulated coin, but you could also discover a valuable uncirculated piece, or even a rare error. The excitement of searching for valuable coins is one of the reasons why so many people enjoy coin collecting. So when we ask the question, is the 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny valuable? The answer is yes. It is valuable because it represents a first-year design. It can be valuable in high grades. It can be extremely valuable as an error coin, and it is valuable for its historical place in American coinage. That's why collectors continue to study, search for, and preserve the 1959 penny. It is much more than just a cent. It is a piece of history that carries real collector value. And that is why I encourage you to watch all the way through and keep learning about these coins. The 1959 Lincoln Memorial penny is valuable, it is collectible, and it is one of the most important coins in the Lincoln Cent series. Next up, the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny is one of the most collected coins in the Lincoln Cent series, and even though millions of them were struck, many people do not realize that certain examples of the 1974 penny can actually be valuable. This coin is important in American coinage because it represents an era when the United States Mint was experimenting with new compositions, minting huge numbers of pennies for circulation, and unknowingly producing certain error coins and varieties that collectors still search for today. That makes the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny worth much more than just 1 cent in many cases. And in this video, we are going to look deeply into why the 1974 penny is valuable, what makes it stand out, and what collectors need to know. The obverse of the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny continues to show the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, which first appeared on the penny in 1909. The reverse design still features the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a design that began in 1959 and continued until 2008. At first glance, the 1974 penny looks like any other cent from this era, but collectors know that small differences, mint marks, and composition details can completely change the value of this coin. That is why searching for 1974 Lincoln pennies in your pocket change, coin jars, or old rolls can be rewarding, because hidden among ordinary examples, there are pennies that are much more valuable. The 1974 penny was struck at 3 different mints: the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, the Denver Mint with the D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark. All three types of 1974 pennies are common in circulated condition, but the condition, grade, and in some cases the composition of the coin are what make them collectible and valuable. In total, billions of 1974 pennies were struck, which makes it seem like they are everywhere. But in coin collecting, rarity is not only about how many were made. It's about how many survived in pristine condition and how many rare varieties exist. One of the most famous things about the 1974 penny is that it was part of a composition experiment. In the early 1970s, the cost of copper began to rise, and the U.S. Mint was looking for cheaper alternatives. Most 1974 pennies were made of the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy. But in 1974, the Mint struck a limited number of experimental aluminum cents. These aluminum pennies never entered circulation, and most of them were recalled and destroyed. However, a few escaped into private hands, and today the 1974 aluminum penny is considered one of the rarest and most controversial coins in U.S. history. Some examples have been reported but remain legally disputed, and their value is estimated in the tens of thousands of dollars. This connection to the 1974 penny makes all coins from this year especially fascinating to collectors. Even the regular copper 1974 pennies can be valuable in the right condition. Collectors always look for coins that are uncirculated, with bright red color and full original luster. These coins, especially those graded at the highest levels, can be worth many dollars, far more than their face value. A 1974 penny with sharp details, no wear, and excellent eye appeal is always in demand from collectors building high-grade sets of Lincoln Memorial cents. That is why saving your 1974 pennies in the best condition possible is a smart idea, because condition drives value. Another key factor in the value of the 1974 penny is mint errors and die varieties. Like many coins from this period, 1974 pennies are known to exist with double die obverse, double die reverses, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes. Some of these errors are dramatic and can make the coin highly valuable. For example, a clear double die on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" can make a 1974 penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity and grade. Repunched mint marks, especially on the Denver and San Francisco issues, are another area where collectors pay close attention, since these small variations can turn a common penny into a collectible treasure. When we talk about the San Francisco Mint 1974 S penny, we should remember that proof coins were also struck for collectors. These proof pennies were not meant for circulation and were struck with polished dies and special planchets to create mirror-like surfaces. High-quality proof coins from 1974 can be valuable, especially when they are free of spots and marks. Some proof varieties also show doubling, which can make them even more desirable to advanced collectors. The 1974 S-proof penny demonstrates how even a coin that seems modern and common can have versions that are rare and valuable. It is also important to look at the overall history of the Lincoln Memorial cent to understand why the 1974 penny is valuable. The memorial reverse design had been in use since 1959, and by 1974 it was a well-established design. But collectors always give special attention to coins from the 1970s because of the high mintages, the change in metallic composition that was soon to come, and the number of minting varieties that appeared during this time. That makes the 1974 penny a key coin for anyone building a complete collection of memorial cents. The value of the 1974 penny also connects to its role as a copper coin. Since 1982, pennies have been made primarily of zinc with only a thin copper coating, but the 1974 penny is still solid copper. This makes it heavier, more durable, and more attractive to some collectors. Many people save pre-1982 copper pennies because they contain more metal value than modern zinc pennies. The 1974 copper penny fits perfectly into that category, and that is another reason why it is saved and collected. When you look at the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny in detail, you realize that it is not just a small coin, but also a window into the economic and historical challenges of its time. The coin tells the story of rising copper prices, mint experimentation with aluminum, and the continued legacy of Abraham Lincoln on America's smallest coin. Collectors value it for its history, its varieties, and the possibility of finding a rare and valuable era. This is why so many people search through coin rolls, jars, and collections to find 1974 pennies. So, is the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny valuable? The answer is yes. Ordinary circulated examples may only be worth face value, but high-grade uncirculated coins, proof issues, era varieties, and anything related to the aluminum cent experiment can be very valuable. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for the best examples of this coin, and that demand keeps interest and value strong. That is why the 1974 Lincoln Memorial penny deserves your attention. It may be a small coin, but its story is big, its varieties are fascinating, and its value can surprise you. The next time you come across a 1974 penny, don't dismiss it as just another common coin. Check the details, look at the mint mark, examine the condition, and remember that this coin is valuable. Next up, the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny is one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in the entire Lincoln Cent series because it marks a major turning point in U.S. coinage history. Collectors know that 1982 was the year the United States Mint changed the composition of the penny, moving away from the traditional solid copper cents to a cheaper copper-plated zinc composition. That means that the 1982 penny exists in multiple varieties, and some of those varieties are far more valuable than others. In this video, we're going to talk in detail about why the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny is valuable, which versions to look for, and what makes these pennies so important for coin collectors. For more than 70 years, from 1909 through part of 1982, pennies were struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc. But by the early 1980s, the price of copper was rising so much that the cost of making each penny was nearly equal to or even more than 1 cent. The U.S. Mint had to make a change, and in 1982 it introduced the copper-plated zinc cent. This new penny was 97.5% zinc with a thin copper layer, and it weighed less than the old copper pennies. But here's where things get interesting. During 1982, both copper and zinc cents were produced, and that created one of the most complex sets of varieties in the entire Lincoln Memorial penny series. There are 7 major varieties of the 1982 Lincoln penny. Collectors distinguish them by composition, size of the date, and mint mark. The categories are 1982 copper large date, 1982 copper small date, 1982 D copper large date, 1982 D copper small date, 1982 zinc large date, 1982 zinc small date, and 1982 D zinc large date. Each of these has its own level of rarity and desirability. What makes the 1982 penny truly valuable is that collectors often need all 7 varieties to complete their set, and some are harder to find than others. That demand is what drives up the value. One of the most famous and valuable pennies from 1982 is the 1982 D small date struck on a copper planchet. This coin should not exist because the Denver Mint was supposed to be striking only zinc pennies in the small date style. But a small number of 1982 D copper small date cents slipped through, and today they are extremely valuable. A genuine 1982 D copper small date penny can sell for thousands of dollars, depending on its grade. That is why collectors and coin roll hunters are always checking their 1982 pennies carefully, because finding one of these valuable varieties can be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Even the other 1982 pennies have value in certain conditions. Copper pennies from 1982 are heavier, weighing about 3.11 grams, while the zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. Collectors often use a simple scale to separate copper from zinc examples. High-grade uncirculated 1982 pennies, whether copper or zinc, can be worth dollars instead of cents, especially when they have full red color and no marks. Proof examples made at the San Francisco Mint also exist and are especially collectible in pristine condition. So when you search through 1982 pennies, you are not just looking for the rare small date copper coin, but also for high-quality examples of all the varieties. The difference between the large date and small date varieties is also important. On the small date, the numbers in the date look thinner and the 2 has a different curve compared to the large date. Many collectors study these differences carefully, because identifying the date style is the first step in figuring out which variety you have. The small date versions, especially the rare copper small date from Denver, are the ones that can be extremely valuable. But even large date examples in top condition or with dramatic errors can carry real collector value. Speaking of errors, the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny is also known for certain minting mistakes that increase its value. Double die obverse, double die reverses, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes all add extra interest to this coin. A strong double die showing clear doubling on the word liberty or on the numbers of the date can make a 1982 penny worth far more than face value. These kinds of errors are always in demand from collectors, and they make the 1982 penny even more valuable than it already is. The historical importance of the 1982 penny cannot be overstated. It represents the end of the copper era and the beginning of the modern zinc penny that continues today. That transition alone makes the coin valuable because collectors always pay close attention to first-year or last-year issues of a coin design or composition. Just like the 1909 penny is important because it was the first year of a Lincoln design, the 1982 penny is important because it was the last year of regular copper production. That historical transition guarantees that the 1982 penny will always be valuable in the eyes of coin collectors. Another reason this coin is valuable is because of the huge number of people who actively search for it. Coin roll hunters, casual collectors, and serious numismatists all know that 1982 is a special year. Millions of people have scales and magnifying glasses at home, checking their 1982 pennies for the rare small date copper variety. This kind of demand creates excitement and makes the 1982 penny a true treasure hunt. Anytime a coin inspires that much searching, its value is reinforced in the collector market. When we talk about value, it is important to understand that ordinary circulated 1982 pennies may only be worth face value, but in high grades, with the right composition, and especially as rare varieties, they become much more valuable. A bright red uncirculated 1982 copper small date or a zinc small date penny can bring strong prices. And of course, the 1982 D small date copper penny is considered one of the great modern rarities, with values reaching into the thousands of dollars. That is why the 1982 penny is not just another common coin. It is a potential treasure. The 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny is also valuable as part of a complete set. Collectors who want one of each variety need all 7 versions, and completing that set is a challenge. This kind of challenge keeps collectors motivated and keeps prices strong. Even coins that are common in circulation become valuable when they are needed to complete a full collection. That is why every 1982 penny has some degree of value, whether common or rare. So when you think about the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny, remember that it is not just a small coin with a simple design. It is a coin that tells the story of rising metal costs, a major composition change, a set of fascinating varieties, and the excitement of finding something rare in everyday change. It is a coin that has captured the attention of collectors for decades and continues to be one of the most searched for coins in America. And the answer to the big question, are 1982 pennies valuable? Yes, they are. They are valuable because they mark a historic transition. They are valuable because of their multiple varieties. They are valuable because of their errors. And they are especially valuable because of the rare 1982 D small date copper penny. Every collector knows that 1982 is a year you cannot ignore, and that is why the 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny remains one of the most talked about and valuable coins in U.S. coinage. Next up, the 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny is a coin that at first glance might look ordinary, but collectors know that certain examples of the 1980 penny can actually be valuable. This coin is part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which ran from 1959 through 2008, and during those decades billions of pennies were minted. But even in years with high mintages, like 1980, certain varieties, conditions, and errors can make a penny worth much more than its face value. In this video we will look closely at the 1980 penny, its history, its design, its mintages, its errors, and most importantly, why this Lincoln Memorial cent is valuable. The obverse of the 1980 penny still shows the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has been on the penny since 1909 and is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. On the reverse of the 1980 penny, we see the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparro to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely at the reverse, you can even see a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, making this coin unique because Lincoln appears on both sides. Collectors appreciate this detail, and the design alone makes the Lincoln Memorial Penny series interesting to study and collect. The 1980 penny was struck at two main mints, Philadelphia, which issued coins with no mint mark, and Denver, which issued coins with a demint mark. The San Francisco Mint also struck proof coins with an S mint mark for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 7.4 billion pennies in 1980, while Denver struck over 5.1 billion. That means billions of 1980 pennies entered circulation, but condition and rarity play a big role in determining value. Even with high mintages, certain coins from this year can be valuable because of their condition or because they display minting errors that make them unique. One of the key things to remember about the 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny is that it was still struck in the traditional copper composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This is important because just 2 years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the penny's composition to copper-plated zinc. That means the 1980 penny is one of the last years of full copper cents. Many collectors save all pre-1982 copper pennies because they contain more copper than their face value. The weight of the 1980 penny is 3.11 grams, and this copper content alone makes it more desirable than modern zinc pennies. This connection to the copper era adds extra value and importance to the 1980 penny. But what really makes the 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny valuable are the high-grade examples and the rare errors that occurred during minting. Most pennies from 1980 that you see in circulation today are worn and brown from decades of use. These circulated coins are usually worth just face value. However, if you find a 1980 penny in uncirculated condition, especially one with full red color and original luster, it can be worth several dollars or more. Collectors pay strong premiums for coins that have been preserved in pristine condition, with sharp details and no marks. A brilliant uncirculated red 1980 penny graded at the highest levels can bring impressive prices at auctions. The proof coins struck at San Francisco in 1980 are also valuable when found in pristine condition. Proof pennies are struck with special dies on polished planchets, producing coins with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. The 1980 S-proof penny is highly collectible, and examples without spots, scratches, or hazing are worth much more than face value. Deep cameo examples with strong contrast between the frosted design and the mirror fields are especially desirable. Another reason why the 1980 penny is valuable is because of mint errors and die varieties. Some 1980 pennies show double dies, where the design elements like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date show doubling. These double die varieties are always popular with collectors, and a strong double die can make a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Other error types include repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark was punched more than once, off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, or broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond the normal rim. These error coins are unique, and their rarity makes them valuable. When you search through 1980 pennies, it is always a good idea to look closely with a magnifying glass, because you never know when you might come across one of these valuable errors. Even a small variation, like a minor doubling or a slightly misaligned die, can increase a coin's value well beyond 1 cent. That is part of what makes coin collecting exciting, the possibility of finding treasure in what looks like an ordinary penny. Collectors also value the 1980 penny because it represents a time in U.S. coinage history just before a major change. Within 2 years, the penny's composition would shift to zinc, and the difference between the heavier copper pennies and the lighter zinc pennies is obvious when you hold them side by side. That makes the 1980 penny part of the final era of traditional copper coins, and that fact alone ensures that collectors will always save and value these coins. The demand for 1980 pennies is also strong among people who put together complete sets of Lincoln Memorial cents. A full set runs from 1959 to 2008, and every year is required to complete it. The 1980 penny, with its huge mintages, is not rare in circulated grades, but high-quality examples are much harder to find because most entered circulation immediately and were used heavily. That is why gem uncirculated 1980 pennies are valuable. They are the survivors that collectors want for their albums and collections. It is also important to understand that pennies like the 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny are often overlooked by the general public. But coin collectors know that small details make big differences. Many people throw pennies aside or ignore them, but collectors who take the time to check their coins can discover valuable pieces. The 1980 penny proves that even modern-era coins can carry significant value under the right conditions. So when we ask, is the 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny valuable? The answer is yes. It is valuable because it is a copper penny from before the composition change. It is valuable because high-grade examples are worth far more than face value. It is valuable because proof examples and era coins are always in demand. And it is valuable because it is an essential part of the Lincoln Memorial cent series that millions of collectors enjoy. Every coin tells a story, and the 1980 penny tells the story of the end of the copper era, the continuation of the memorial design, and the possibility of rare and valuable errors. That is why this coin should never be overlooked. The 1980 Lincoln Memorial penny may seem small, but its importance is big, its history is meaningful, and in the right condition or variety, it can be very valuable. And that brings us to the end of this video. As you can see, coins like the Lincoln Memorial pennies, Wheat pennies, Roosevelt dimes, Kennedy half dollars, and so many other coins we talk about here are not just pocket change. They are rare, collectible, and valuable coins that every collector should pay attention to. Some of these coins can be worth far more than face value, and the only way to know is by learning, searching, and checking every detail. That's why I make these videos, so you can stay informed about which coins are valuable and why they matter in coin collecting. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep discovering more rare and valuable coins hiding in your pocket change, make sure you subscribe to my channel right now and never miss an update. By subscribing, you'll always be the first to know about valuable pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars that could be sitting in your collection. Thank you for watching, and remember, these coins are valuable, and the next treasure could be in your hands today.